Okay. All right. It says it's recording. So thank you everybody for joining us this morning. We are celebrating the census and hopefully people will, if you haven't already filled it out, will fill it out in the next day or so that we can break the top 10 of the states for people filling out censuses. We're just behind Kansas right now, so I know we can beat Kansas. So I'd like to introduce Emily Darwell, and she is with the Larimer County Census, and she will talk about why it's so important for us to do this census and what it means for Larimer County and for Loveland and also the state of Colorado. So Emily, if you could go ahead and take that over, please.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Emily, and I'm the Regional Census Coordinator for Larimer County. As Amy said, I'm here to talk to you about the census that's happening right now. And it's something that is easy. You can safely do it from your home without being around a lot of people. It's easier than ever because you can now complete the census online, over the phone, or by paper copy. But first, you might be wondering, what exactly is the census? And the census is basically a population count of everyone living in the United States. So every 10 years, the government counts every single person living in the country. That includes babies, citizens, non-citizens, seniors, students, literally everyone counts. The information that's then provided by the census or to the census is used to determine the distribution of more than $675 billion in federal funding each year to communities across the country. And here in Larimer County, that translates to something like 800 a year. So many communities rely on these funds to support essential programs, including healthcare and emergency services, which of course is on everybody's mind right now, but also things like education, housing, transportation, employment, and public policy. Information from the census is also used to redraw boundaries of congressional and state legislative districts and determines the number of congressional seats each state has in the U.S. House of Representatives. So as we can see, it is extremely important because completing the census affects the amount of funding that your community receives and will receive for the next 10 years. So this is our chance to sort of determine the funding that we're going to get for the next 10 years here in Loveland, here in Fort Collins, all across the county. This also affects how our community is going to plan for our future and affects our representation in the government. So it's very important. And you might be wondering when you can respond. How do we get that count up, that self-response rate to be in the top 10 states across the entire nation? You haven't missed your chance, luckily, to participate in the census. This year, the self-response period has been extended due to the shelter-in-place restrictions that are going on with COVID-19. And so you will have until October 31st to self-respond to the census if you need extra time. But there is no need to wait. Many households already received a notice in the mail to complete the census with instructions to go online or call over the phone and do it that way. Paper copies of the census are also being sent out, which means you have 3 ways to respond. You can respond online, over the phone, or through the mail. So to respond online, you can go to 2020census.gov and click respond, and then click start questionnaire. To respond over the phone, you can call 844-330-2020. That line is open between 7 a.m. and 2 a.m. Eastern time. So it's really not a bad time to call and complete your census. And to respond using a paper questionnaire, simply fill out a questionnaire whenever you receive one in the mail, seal it in the envelope and send it back. There's no cost to send back the paper form. You can just drop it in the mail without any postage or have a mail delivery person pick it up. So what if you haven't received any mail about the census yet? And we know that that applies to a lot of people, especially in rural regions, who may not have received anything about the census. You can still complete the census online, whether you've received something in the mail or not. And so you can go online to that 2020census.gov or call 844-330-2020, and then you will use your address to respond to the questionnaire. And so a very common question about the census is, who should I include in the census? We have a lot of unique living situations. It may not be just you or just you and your spouse. You might have a variety of people living with you. Since the census is a count of everyone living in the United States at the place where they live and sleep, the majority of the time, as of April 1st, 2020, you want to use April 1st as a benchmark to count everybody. This helps ensure that the census is an accurate count, even if people's situations change, which we know they do. So if you're going to complete the census for your whole household, we recommend that you assign one person to do that per household. Make sure you count everyone who's staying there most of the time on April 1st. That includes family, friends, babies, grandparents, everyone living there most of the time. And so what sort of questions are going to be asked is another common question, and that should only take 5 to 10 minutes to complete per person, and it'll ask questions such as your name, phone number, age, your sex or your gender, Hispanic origin, race, and relationship to a central person in the household, whether you own or rent, and number of people in the household, and if the individuals in the household usually live or stay somewhere else. Please note, the census does not include a citizenship question at all. It will not ask for your citizenship status, and it will never ask for anything like your social security number or your bank account information or anything like that. So on that note, the census is extremely safe. Your information is protected, and it's against the law for any Census Bureau employee to disclose or publish census information that might identify an individual. Your information is effectively de-identified when you submit your questionnaire. Census Bureau employees even take an oath or a lifelong pledge of confidentiality, and they have to handle data responsibly. So again, the census is easy, it's safe, and it's important. Help shape our community's future and cross it off your to-do list today. Thank you.
You're muted, Amy.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah.
Ken,
Yeah.
would you be willing to speak about how the census is used in historical research? And do you have a PowerPoint that I need to share a screen with, or?
No, I'll just talk a little bit about it. And to put Colorado in historical perspective, we were once part of France, in the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. The United States purchased that from France, as most of you know, and part of it was seceded by Mexico in 1848 when we had the Mexican War. And then the most interesting thing is there was a spur or a sliver of Texas coming up into Colorado, and that was purchased from Texas, which was a country at the time in 1850. Now, you know that the census occurs every 10 years. The first census was when George Washington was president, and that's 1790. And the questions were pretty interesting. There were 6 questions on that 1790 census. One was to record how many free white males 16 and upwards there were in your household. Another was how many free white males under 16 there were. And then free white females, and then other free persons. And the one that was very interesting is how many slaves did you own? And that question remained on the census for a number of years, as you probably know. The information remains confidential for 72 years. So that 72 years keeps moving along kind of like a slide. And the only way you can get into that confidential area is if you are one of the individuals named in the census or their heirs. So 72 years of confidential information for the census. And so what about the people in Colorado in the 1860 census? How many people did the 1860 census come up with for Colorado? Anybody want to guess on that? No, no guesses yet. You want to guess? 0. Because we were not a territory. We weren't a territory till 61. So we were counted in Nebraska, and we were counted in Kansas and New Mexico, and a few of us in Utah. And then 61, we became a territory. So the 1870 census is one that did count people in Colorado. And of course, as you probably know, the largest county at that time was Arapahoe County because it included Denver. But you say today, Denver is not part of Arapahoe County. It's its own county in city. Well, back in the early days, Denver was part of Arapahoe County. Now we get to Larimer County. 1870, there were 825 people in Larimer County. Free colored, 0. Chinese, 0. And this was the most interesting figure. Indian, 10. But I don't know about that because there are quite a few lodges, Arapahoe and Cheyenne lodges in Larimer County at that time. So it's hard for me to believe there were only 10 Indians in the county. And then we have stepped out. Colorado kind of thinks outside the box. And this is part of the wonderful part of living in Colorado because people here think a little bit more independently. We actually had a census in 1885. In other words, out of that 10-year period. Now, I don't have the figures for one. They're available as PDFs on their website. Anyway, any questions? Well, thanks a lot. That's kind of your historical perspective on the census.
Thank you so much for pulling that together. Beth, I know that you have an exciting craft for people to do. So if you could take it away, please.
We're going to start off with Claudette and Beth singing the census song. Sadie, can you?
Yeah, this is a fun song to help your children understand census and why everyone counts in their own special way. So we're gonna start right now. Let me get this.
Yeah.
Counts people in homes big and small. Your county, your tiny, your county, your tall, because everyone counts in the US of A. Everyone counts in their own special way. The census counts everywhere, count all who live with you. Sister, uncle, grandmas, and your newborn babies too, because everyone counts in the US of A. Everyone counts in their own special way. We count all your neighbors and we count all your friends. Until we count you, the counting won't end because everyone counts in the US of A. Everyone counts in their own special way. Counting is easy, counting is fun. Everyone counts and you count as one. Everyone counts in the US of A. Everyone counts in their own special way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everyone counts in the US of A. Everyone counts in their own special way.
Claudette's gonna sing it in Spanish now. I think that's our plan. So we're gonna turn it back to Claudette to sing in Spanish.
Okay, so canción del 2020, del Census 2020, todos cuentan. El censo cuenta gente en casas o apartamentos. El censo cuenta a todos los que viven adentro porque todos cuentan en Estados Unidos. Todos cuentan y contamos unidos. El censo te cuenta a ti, a tu tío, al abuelito. Eso cuenta al bebé y también a tu hermanito porque todos cuentan en Estados Unidos. Todos cuentan y contamos unidos. Contamos a tus vecinos, sean muchos o poquitos, contamos todos, grandes o chiquitos, porque todos cuentan en Estados Unidos, todos cuentan y contamos unidos. Contar es fácil, contar es divertido, el censo te cuenta a ti también, cuenta conmigo porque todos cuentan en Estados Unidos, todos cuentan y contamos. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you, Claudette. I was able to come up with
Thank you.
a fun family tree craft that hopefully everyone has the supplies for at home. You can use your imagination and use what supplies you do have if you don't have exactly what is suggested here. So I've created a family tree for my daughter Sadie, and I just marked it with a me right there representing her. I used my own hands. So the supplies needed are green construction paper, brown construction paper, scissors, a pencil or a pen, and glue to create this. So with my green construction paper, I just place my hand on here, and I have a large hand because I'm an adult. So I laid it flat on the table and then just traced around my hand. If you need help, I'm sure your grown-up can help you trace your hands. And then I used my scissors to cut my hand out. And then, because I cut out quite a few hands, I glue my hand onto my tree like that. For the trunk, I just used some brown construction paper, and I just thought about what a tree trunk looked like and cut my own tree trunk out very easily like that. And I glued it to my tree also. So I have my tree trunk and I have my leaves that are connected to my tree. And then what I did is I thought about who is in my family. And remember, I'm creating this tree for my daughter, Sadie. So I wrote me representing her. And then I drew lines down for Dad and Mom. And then I drew lines further down to include her brother, Sam, and then her pets and her family. So you want to make sure that you include them because those fur babies are part of our family. They may not count on the census, but they count in our families. So I included the dog and the 2 cats along with her brother, Sam. So a real quick activity to do that shows you that you do count. Just like the song says, in the USA, we all count in our own special way. And this gives you an idea of how we count in our families. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth and Claudette. That was wonderful. So I thank everybody for joining us today, and to remember to fill out your census and to get the information in, and to remember that everybody counts, and we thank you for that.